of this era are so strange. Like, look at this steering wheel. This is effectively a Toyota Matrix steering wheel. But then, beneath the hood, of course, you've got a 2JZ GTE. So, here we go, you guys. This is a Toyota Aristo V300 Vertex Edition, which added a few aesthetic changes. I don't believe it added anything under the hood or any performance options. I could be wrong, please correct me in the comments. I have driven a V300 once before, local car, that was fairly close to stock, still automatic. This one I'm driving today is what everybody wants out of this chassis, especially if you're an enthusiast and you want a daily something like this. It's been manual swapped. So we're gonna talk to the owner of this car and see what is going on. Is it worth it? Is it worth taking the time, taking the extra cash, and manual swapping a luxury car? In the context of the time, yeah, this was an executive sedan, still is, but when you look at the dimensions of this car versus modern cars, and this is why I do enjoy driving a lot of new cars, is you begin to realize the definition of what a luxury car, what a large sedan is, has vastly changed over the years. The wheelbase of this car is shorter than a new M3, than a new 3 Series. And the 3 Series is, of course, now there's things like the 2 Series and what was the 1 Series to become the smallest BMW chassis, but the 3 Series is supposed to be a small car, a entry-level kind of smaller sedan, but it's just not. It's larger than this, it's longer than this, and it's heavier than this. The new M3 is at least 150 pounds heavier. Oh, now we get some turbo spool. Wow. Lots of turbo spool. Actually, there's kind of like a dip. There's a cool dip in between the first and second turbo. You guys likely won't hear this on the mic, but I'll try my best. You can hear in between where the first turbo is like, I give up. And then the second turbo, he loved it. Gixxer 600 or whatever the heck he was on, he loved it. And then you can hear the second turbo just get loud after that. It's a cool kind of sound that you don't get from anything else. Oh, the torque is just awesome. It's way quicker than I was expecting. Okay, so one of the reasons why I'm really excited to bring you guys this car, you're gonna see this car again, I don't know at what point, but you guys remember, I just recently drove a 2JZ GTE swapped IS 300, and a few months ago, last year, I drove the Fish Racing 1UZ swapped IS. So this car, this is my third time driving a Fish Racing car that has the CD09 transmission out of a 350Z or 370Z in a different application. So that's why, one of the reasons why I was really excited to drive this car. Aggressive clutch here. It's got a OS Geiken twin disc. It's aggressive. It's got an incredibly short throw. I did stall it. I was on a hill. I didn't give it enough gas, so I'll blame that. Nice short shifting feel. It's a little bit short. I have actually missed a couple gears already, but again, it's not my car and I'm just kind of getting used to it too, so there is that. So it feels fairly, I can't say native here. It doesn't feel like it was made for this car, but that's mainly because it does have the Serial 9 shift kit on here, so it's really short throws. Like I said, single turbo incoming, so everything's kind of prepped for that. So it's kind of a dual personality I'm feeling here. Wow, really quick actually. Wow. It's one of those cars that doesn't need the power, but the power's welcome. And with the 2J, you really don't have a ceiling. So this actually does have a valve in the exhaust, which is great. I love this. I love when cars do this, especially, you know, it's not too necessary with the 2JZ. It's not really necessary in this application yet, but as we'll get to, the owner has plans to make this car single turbo, which will, of course, as a byproduct, probably increase the noise. Here's some clutch noises, even when we rev high. We can still hear the 2J a little bit. Oh, there we go. That's a really quick changeover, actually. I would have loved to see, what I would have really loved to see would have been a before and after dyno comparison. Because a big question is, okay, how much like drivetrain loss have you actually experienced or lost going from, I'm guessing this was a 4-speed auto, it could have been a 5, from the factory to a manual car like this? My guess is quite a bit. You know, as a percentage, probably 10 to 15% you're probably losing just with the auto versus manual. And especially because, of course, the 2J sequential turbo system, much like an FD RX-7, second turbo hits around 4,000 RPM. And if you're below 4, you still have meaty torque that feels incredibly smooth. It feels much closer to an NA application, which basically just takes care of the weight of the car. It does feel really weird heel towing an Aristo, though. It really does. Looking around for AC. Do we have AC? I believe we do have AC. But, of course, everything's in Japanese. It's got a digital screen here. What I assume doesn't have navigation. I could be wrong, actually. A lot of these cars from Japan, of course, like the Crown and others, I'm getting crazy Crown vibes from the Aristo. They're very closely kind of related. Have, you know, they were ahead of the time. Still got creature comforts. The entire interior here is leather. It's got these dual cup holders here. But again, you're getting a bit of a hot and cold feeling. That's a terrible way of explaining it. In feel, because you do have incredibly robust shifts and clutch feel. You got a great strong gearbox that can easily hold up to 600-700 pound-feet of torque. But then you're looking at like a Toyota Matrix gauge cluster with a Matrix steering wheel. Not actually, but may as well be. And you know, the steering feel's not quite there, just because the car does weigh a lot. You know, 300ZX twin turbo, 2+2 weight kind of area. But it's nice. It's nice, and I'm excited to see where this car goes. So let's get the owner in the passenger seat. Let's ask him a little bit about the swap and how it went. And yeah, you guys will see this car again very soon. Well, you guys, this is the owner of the car, Riaz.
How's it going?
Thanks for coming out, man.
Absolutely.
But the cool thing is, of course, you recently put on the 2JZ Fish Racing to CD 6-speed swap.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say the Fish Racing oil cap, which added a whole bunch of power. Yeah. Yeah. Also. Yeah. No,
that's like an introduction. You see that, and then you're like, oh, you've got the 6-speed inside. Huh?
Yeah, it's basically like a rite of passage. As soon as you do something cool to your car, you have to put the Fish Racing oil cap on there.
Yes. Yeah. So how was that? Like, did you search around a while on bell housing adapter kits, or how did you land on the Fish Racing kit?
Well, it kind of goes back to when I was picking the car. So I was sort of debating whether I wanted to get a Skyline, a Stagia. Obviously, the budget for a Supra at the time of me buying this car was not there.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, looking around, I was like, you know what? The Aristo is the best bet. It has a 2JZ out of the bat. You know, there's nothing for me to do or change other than the transmission. So at that point, I started looking. I was like, okay, what are people doing for manual swaps?
They're not.
Well, that's the thing. Like, no one. Well, a lot more people are focused on doing the single turbo swap.
Yeah.
Why not just do the manual first? I mean, not many people are doing it, so it'll kind of like add to the appeal of the Aristo a little bit.
Do you have AC in here?
Yeah, car still has AC.
Can we turn it on?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I was trying to figure it out earlier. And
yeah.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah. Again, Toyota's infinite wisdom. They've built everything into like this head unit, which I will be replacing. V160 is an option, or was an option. R154.
Yeah.
And the CD. Those are the three main contenders. V160 more or less gets ruled out right away just because of how rare and expensive they are.
Yes, very expensive. Transmissions, people like to think of, just as a side note real quick, people think of, yeah, the Supra's gone up crazy value, the GTRs, but the components that those cars came with also did the same thing.
Exactly.
So.
Like, even down to like the radiators in these cars, like a lot of people just tend to run the stock radiator because they're up to like the task. Like Toyota over-engineered everything.
Mm-hmm.
Than the R154. But I mean, I've heard so many people saying that the R154 is it's just a dated transmission. Like, it's a good transmission, but you know, if you're trying to come up with something new, you know, which, you know, it's going to be for me a highway car.
As it should be, yeah.
Yeah, like having that sixth gear is good for me. So I was like, you know what? Forget the R154. I'm going to get the CD09 because it's more readily available, cheaper, can hold way more power.
A lot of power, yeah, a lot of torque.
You know, it can hold up to 800 foot-pounds without, you know, hiccuping.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, you know what? That's the transmission I'll go for.
It's a one and done scenario.
Exactly.
Too.
And
yeah.
my mindset at the time was, you know what? So many people probably have like 370s and 350s that they're crashing. So there's bound to be a huge number of them at the wreckers.
Yeah.
At that point, let me just call Nissan and see what a new one costs.
Sure, yeah.
Surely it can't be that much more.
Yeah.
And
it's a known quantity. It's,
yeah.
You know, you were the first one putting fluids in it, all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what I did. I went to Nissan. I was like, hey, how much is a 2017 CD?
Yeah.
And they were like, well, they're the
like
same.
A brand new one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so it's not only new in like,
oh, yeah.
It's like in terms of it being from a 370 then.
Yeah, like the appropriate designation is the JK41.
Okay.
So you say, hey, I want a CD from like a 370Z, and they basically ask you one question, which is it the Nismo or the base?
Yeah.
And the only difference is that the Nismo has the rev match computer built into it.
Yes, okay. You have, a known quantity for your transmission, and largely because the 2JZ is pretty damn bulletproof, you've got a known quantity up there, you know?
Yep.
And then too, as far as I've read and what, you know, Fish Racing, they've got cars, you know, doing non-stop drift days and being beaten on their stuff should be pretty stout as well.
It is. I mean, if you buy like a used CD and you run into an issue where like, oh, I blew up the transmission, you know, is it fair to say that CDs are unreliable? I'd say no, just because you never know with a used transmission what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm building up that OEM Plus kind of setup before I go with the single swap. So,
yeah.
I mean, from the ground up, what do I have? I guess XXR wheels, which are going to be changed out for SSR Professor SP6s, which are a successor to the SSR Koenigs, that blocky 5-spoke wheel. So that'll kind of put me in a class of, you know, having cool wheels and not knock off, you know, reps. Yeah, so I have those BC Racing Coilovers. It's got a Torsen 3.7 rear end from an Auto TT Supra. So it kind of complements the CD quite well.
That's one of the things I noticed. The gearing, it didn't feel like, it's not something I noticed. It didn't feel abnormal. You know, with some swaps, it either makes it crazy short, like way too short. You got to almost be doing second gear starts, or it makes it to the point where you never get out of third gear. But this is a good balance, I find.
Yeah.
Well, hey, look, man, thanks for bringing the car out.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, great to actually see the car from not the driver point of view.
Yeah. 2JZ power.
2JZ power, baby, all the way.
Soon, you guys will be revisiting this car. Like I said, we'll get Reyes out again. And go follow him on Instagram. I'll put it right here. And we'll be back very soon. I don't know what I'm driving next. A bunch of new cars, kind of juxtapose some of these modified cars. So
Yeah.
we'll see you soon.